The Avgn 8-bit game is releasing pretty soon, and I got my hands on a copy of the game a little early to let you guys know how I feel about it. So those guys, they gave me a review copy, so you know what's up. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So now this game, it's obviously geared towards Avgn fans and fans of retro games. But I don't think you have to be a hardcore angry video game nerd fan to enjoy it. Though it does have a ton of references to the show. Well, essentially the Steam version, or the console version, the current generation console version, I'm playing the Steam version here, is presented pretty much like an episode of the show. So if you played the demo that was available, it only contained a couple stages to give you a little taste of the game, but it does seem like there were some tweaks made that I've noticed, so I just want to quickly point that out. Like the main one that I noticed, like when you get a weapon power-up, you don't immediately lose it when you get hit. The upgrade falls off of you now, and you have a couple seconds chance to grab it before it disappears. But the cool thing that I didn't know would be in the full version of the game, but I did notice while I was like recording all this, it was in the trailer that was put out, but the game does have like full-on cutscenes throughout the game and a nice little intro like scene setting up the story that's presented like an Avgn episode. In the trailer, that's how it's presented, like, hey, it's like playing an episode of the show. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, then there are a few little scenes here and there after beating some of the stages, and then there's, you know, some longer scenes at the end of the game. So real quick, the story of the game is the nerd is going to play a good game for once, but the upgraded version of the Super Mecha Death Christ rolls in, essentially jacks everything up by taking over the nerd's NES, and also hacks into the world and stops everyone from playing games. Something like that, right? So it's up to the nerd to stop Super Mecha Death Christ by creating the ultimate cartridge from hell, from all of his shitty games that he's played from the past. So with that, he creates the Avgn 8-bit NES game, which at some point, the game that we are playing here today is supposed to be released as an NES cartridge as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hoping to get my hands on one of those. But I really like the presentation here, and I think fans of the Angry Video Game Nerd videos will enjoy it as well. But how does the game play? How does it hold up? Is it fun? Well, obviously, it's an 8-bit NES-style platformer, similar to like Mega Man, but with inspirations from several games that the nerd has played in previous episodes of his show. So the level select screen presents you with 6 levels to choose from in a familiar Mega Man-style interface. But it doesn't really matter the order that you play in, at least it doesn't seem to me anyway, because you're not getting any like power-ups from the bosses. So each stage, fairly straightforward, but there may be some secret paths or different areas, extra areas that you can find that have like power-ups and whatnot. So it is worth keeping your eyes open for different ways to go in each stage, as you might find some extra stuff. Now the controls, they felt responsive. You could slide, jump, shoot, and all that felt really good and just natural in the game, wasn't clunky at all. Now some levels, they were a bit more challenging than others, but overall, I wouldn't say the game had anything that was really unfair at all. There were no moments where I was like, dang it, this is like not right. If I screwed up, I screwed up. But I wasn't dying in any of the stages, to be honest. The only thing that I can say I was being annoyed by, but this was very minor, to be honest with you, was when I would have like a secondary weapon and then have my gun like powered up, or have the scope, which the scope lets you charge your gun. And then if I would have all that and get to a boss and then die, because when you die at a boss, you lose everything, all your power-ups, and you start to retry directly at the boss. Not like a big deal, like I said, but it always just kind of sucked to lose everything that you accumulated. You know, I just never died except at bosses, so that's why it kind of sucked. You know, that was the only thing I was annoyed at in this game. But it's not a big deal, because I'd say the bosses are fair as well. Like, it's your typical figure out the pattern of attack or how they cycle through actions so you know how to react. You could fairly easily beat any of the bosses without any power-ups once you figure them out. Just the power-ups make it a lot easier and faster. I mean, that's just kind of obvious, right? The only boss that I initially had an issue with at first was it the Festerdrome, because it wasn't obvious what it was you were supposed to attack on it. So I was a little confused for a minute, but that was really the only one. But yeah, I played the demo, so like those two bosses in the demo, I kind of already had an idea what to do and was prepared for them. And I played the demo multiple times, but yeah. So the one stage in the game that I thought really stood out, all the stages were fun, but the one that I thought really stood out was Ye Old London. Obviously, it was a take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I thought it was funny how halfway through the stage, like there's a bird that like shits on you. Like, I don't know if it shits in your eye or something, but it turns to night and then the level starts auto-scrolling the opposite way and all sorts of weird little monsters come out. So obviously it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but that was pretty cool. So once you complete the 6 stages, then the final stage becomes available. It's like the glitch stage, where you ultimately will face off against Super Mecha Death Christ to, fix everything so everybody can play their games again, right? Now that stage, it was the most challenging. It was thrown at you like tons of weird little glitches and then creatures from all the different like stages, the previous stages. Plus, at like one point, you also face off against some nerd clones before you face off against Super Mecha Death Christ, which was probably one of the more difficult boss fights, the Death Christ, at first, as there are just so many things that he does and things that happen during that fight. And there's like a couple different phases as well. But I found if you're willing to take some damage up close at the right time, he's actually pretty easy if you can get a pattern down of avoiding a couple rounds of missile attacks. But it's essentially like any of the other bosses, just kind of figure things out, right? Now, once you complete the game, watch the credits. If you take down the password, yes, there are passwords in this game, but you don't have to use them to continue. Pretty sure those passwords were implemented for the NES version of the game. But that password, there is one shown in the credits at the end. If you use that password, it will give you access to a boss practice and boss rush mode, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, the boss practice mode, it allows you to choose your weapon level and your secondary weapon. Now, that was awesome. The boss rush mode, pretty self-explanatory, I'd imagine. Rush them bosses. You have a few lives, just try to get through them. It's nice to have a little practice and a little, fun doing that. So this game is not really a long one. I completed it pretty quick in one sitting, but also it's an NES game essentially, and it felt about right if you're looking at it like that. The game has 3 difficulties you could choose from when you start a playthrough, so I guess there's a little replayability there. I think this game's replayability will be more higher with players who want to learn to speedrun the game, as it really does feel primed for that, for speedrunning. For others, though, it really doesn't have a ton to offer to keep you playing, and I guess it really just depends on how you look at that. Games like the original NES Mega Man games, they're cherished classics, and each one of those can be beaten around the same amount of time as this game. But I personally love stuff like this. New retro style games that actually feel retro, feel NES. Again, this is an NES game. It's going to be released on the NES among, all other current gen consoles. So for me, it's a game I think I will revisit from time to time. I'm not going to keep playing it every single day, but I'll revisit it. Not every game needs to be a 40 to 100 hour experience game. Not every game needs to be a $50 to $80 game either, right? It's got to kind of make sense. So I love this one. I think most people who enjoy retro games and AVGN will as well. Hell, I don't even think you have to be a big AVGN fan to enjoy this game. It's really polished. It's a really polished 8-bit retro game that I think any retro gamer will find fun, even if disregarding the AVGN story and references. So there you have it. I'm giving it a thumbs up. I liked it. I really did. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. You can wishlist the game on Steam now. Appreciate it. Bye.